Hey everyone, let's talk about the second unit we got on the first day scam banner. It is it, the technically speaking strongest unit in the Xenoverse unit, but in FFBE, so much I can already spoil, he is just middle of the pack, and when compared to the other two Xenogears units, he is the worst, depending on the situation. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, let's dive right in. No guest today, but it's fine. Maybe I'll get Sincer to be on my other reviews again as well in the future. So, the it overview. Base form, he kinda really doesn't do anything. He's just, I mean, technically you could use his 150 XLB, but that's about it really. He doesn't have that much, and we'll get to that in a second. And in his Brave Shift, in his Weltall form, he is a Fire LB finisher, although finisher, I should have put that in quotation because it's 4 hits, but again, we'll get to that. So the abilities, and this is why I said he kinda really doesn't do anything. He has an 80% break, 100x, after that defense ignores stuff, nuke at turn 1, I don't know, it's not really doing anything here. Passive side of things, nothing really stands out, it's more of the same. From Graph, yeah, let's move on, I guess. Oh, by the way, one thing to note is he has full LB gauge, if you leveled his LB that is, at the start of the battle at EX +1 already. The base form LB, 120 fire imperil, 150x fire damage, fire physical damage, and a 100% LB buff, which doesn't amount to anything. 4 hits, 60 LB cost, 99 at level 1, which is why you need to level his LB to be full at the start of the battle. In the Brave Shift, just like a Graph, he cannot wear anything innately, so you have to use Equip Helm, Equip Gloves, one of those. And what is really important for it, and it's one of his greatest downsides, is that he has to be at EX +2 to be somewhat usable. And that is due to the fact that his Hyper Mode, which is an 80x LB modifier increase, only unlocks at EX +2. Which is a huge downside. It's also the 30% fire amp that he has. That is also tied to that one ability. And the rest of it, I mean, more of the same, honestly. He also gains lightning, a lightning attack, which decreases lightning resistance of the enemy by 120%. So nothing really. The other thing to note, he, just like Graph, gains the Omega 100 passive with 1000 unarmed attack. He has 5x cap innately, so he needs either Clash Helm, Clash Clothes, or Indestructible Light. And yeah, more of the same, honestly. He's specialized against plants and machinas, both at 200%. And yeah, that is pretty much it. The LB, on the other hand, it's baseline 200x. With the modifier increase in mind, it is 280x. Now, the one thing that people will ask now is, what about Tybus STMR? You could use Tybus STMR, yes. However, fitting that in with killers, with the Graph and it TMR, that's going to be a tough call. It works against his innate killers, but once you don't fight, or you stop fighting bosses that are not his innate killers, plants, machina, it cannot use Tybus' STMR because he is a trans shift unit. You would have to use the Tybus STMR in his base form. You would use it, and you would have to LB on the very next turn because you cannot use it otherwise. So that is kind of iffy. You cannot use Tybus STMR, power up his LB once again, it would stack. But it doesn't work that way because by turn 3, where you were supposed to use the LB, the Tybus STMR buff would have ran out by that. So it's kind of iffy to use. It works against innate killers, but I'm not calculating against innate killers, so for my calculations later on, there is no Tybus STMR. Anyway, it's kind of mediocre. Nothing really stands out about his LB. And it's locked, which isn't that bad innately, but it kind of makes him a mood pull. TMR STMR, TMR, exactly same thing, like graphs, 500 static attack, but this time around it's Machina Killer instead of Human Killer. It's good for Xenogears units, great even. The materia itself cannot be stacked, you have to use graphs for the second stack of 500 static attack, but that is a workaround, so to speak. For units other than Xenogears, this materia doesn't do anything. The STMR are cloves, 70 attack, 50 in defense, 100 LB fill gauge fill rate, and 3 LB crystals per turn. I've heard some people and even some other content creators say this is great, you should get it, but I'm not gonna call out names here because I don't feel like that's warranted or anything. But that's bad advice. This STMR is bad. It's absolutely nothing special. You will never end up using this, even on LB starving units such as Lara Croft. Because you have to keep in mind Lara Croft wants to use either the Clash Crown or the Clash Cloves. Most of the time, she will end up using the Clash Cloves because those are higher attack, and depending on where you use her, this is what she wants. She wants higher attack to close the gap between the premium units, and that's one way to do it. Because the premium units, such as, take Sephiroth for example, they usually use their own STMR, which is close. Or Tybus, for example, he's more suited to use the Clash Helmet, for example. Oren as well. I mean, Oren is an iffy case. He also wants the Clash Close, but yeah. And truth be told, there are better options anyway. Sephiroth's Code, for example, the STMR of Sephiroth is still better. 80 attack, so that scales rather well with the true double-hand nature of Lara. And it has stop immunity, and I would value stop immunity higher than LB fill rate, especially when you can get it from outside sources. So all in all things considered, this STMR is just plain bad. And you have to keep in mind, this is technically even worse than a 3 units STMR Luminous Cloves. While Luminous Cloves has less attack, it does a lot more than this. So comparing things here, I would rate Luminous Cloves, which was given out for free during the Final Fantasy XIII event, Lightning Returns that is better than this. So much for that. The Vision card, same thing as with Graph. It is great on Xenogears units, but vastly outdated due to the 100 flat attack. It's good on Xenogears units for the 500 static attack, but nothing too special, honestly. So moving on to the damage stuff. As always, if you want to read through this wall of text, pause the video for a second. I'm just gonna move on right away and get to the builds. So these are the 2.8 builds, just like with Graph. I have the realistic build here. This is the own vision card of the Xenogears units. Zero Janai. This isn't Zero or something. I don't know the English name of it. But yeah, this is the actual build against the demon boss. No Clash Cloves. And the best case scenario would be using the Clash Cloves, but like I mentioned, the Clash Cloves usually end up being on premium units or Lara Croft or Sky, for example. And then, because people are also suggested using or showing off Faye, so this is an exception because I do want to prove a point here. This is a Faye build. It uses the Clash Cloves, again, best case scenario for him. But because Faye is naturally good against demons, I built him against the dragons. But it's fine for the comparison's sake here. So Faye can easily reach 300 Dragon Killer. And yeah, let's check out the calculations or the damage comparison. One thing I'd like to mention is I had a slight mistake yesterday in my graph screenshot. I used, for the calculation of the attack, I used his base form base attack. And in his Brave Shift, Graph has around about 30 more base attack. So that's why Graph reaches a higher damage number in this video than in the one I did yesterday. So don't get confused. It was an error on my side. I fixed that error and it's now properly done. But what we're looking at here is Id. Now Id with Lena field support, he zims okay-ish. He's still far below Sephiroth and all the other good units, as you can see. He's barely above Shinju. And what's funny is because using Lena on a fire team isn't the most realistic assumption. So if you take away the Lena field, all of a sudden the damage drops significantly by by more than 10% even. Let me just quickly calc this. 7217, 12. Yeah, it drops by around about 13%, which is rather crazy. And this makes Faye stand out even more because Faye is a dark damage dealer, much like Sephiroth. So you could use Faye in a dark team, and that's not too shabby for a free unit, honestly. I'm kind of surprised Faye sims this highly. So it literally gets carried by Lena's Field Emperor. He's worse than Faye and not relevant in any fire team whatsoever. Now, how does he fare in the meta? He is almost premium cost, but worse than the NVA that we are getting for free. Now, technically speaking, you need both units at EX plus 2 to be worth anything. And Faye, we're only getting him, for whatever reason, to EX0, but Shaylee promised in the news update video that we are supposed to get Faye up to EX plus 1 for free. No idea how we're supposed to do that, but I hope they will address this issue at some point. Now regarding it, he has to be EX plus 2 to be even worth anything, and just like Graf, it will also suffer tremendously against dual race bosses that he's not innately strong against. He too has to wear 3 items fixed: the TMR, his own, the Graf TMR, and either Indestructible Light or equip Clothes / equip Helm. And the limited gearing options of his will make him hardly ever usable in Clash of Wills. So should you pull? I do want to reiterate, this banner structure is a scam. He is sold at almost premium value without being a premium unit whatsoever. He has no premium unit features. He doesn't even come close to premium unit damage output. And he is just a dud. He is just here to dilute your graph pulls. He is bad. Really, really bad. Do not pull. I repeat, do not pull on the Id banner. Only do it if you really, really, really love Xenogears. My best advice to you is skip his banner entirely. You can get, if you're just looking for the TMR, you can get the TMR Moogles from the Mocking shop. And if you haven't bought the free Moogle containers from the Unit Exchange Coin shop, you can get those for 10,000 unit exchange coins or whatever they are called. Just TMR your 5-star units that you don't need, hand them in for trust coins, and you'll be good. You're getting these 10k so easily these days. Get your Moogle container, TMR it with its TMR, and there you go. Your graph is ready to go. You don't need to pull it if you still have those Moogle containers available. So yeah. It is the absolute dud of this banner. You're better off getting off banners of Faye instead of him. And as usual, please never Lapis pull if you cannot afford to pity. And that is it for today. Thank you all for watching. Sadly, the second new version of this banner is really bad. I also feel rather bad for all the fans of Xenogears and who are also fans of Id. But it's Alom at the end of the day and Gumi's unwillingness to fix things, so here we are. Anyway, thanks for watching, we'll see each other later today. Bye bye.